It's 1961. The house is quiet. The children are finally asleep. The kitchen is clean. And somewhere in a small bedroom on the edge of Springfield, Missouri, a woman sits down at a vanity table with a tilted mirror and opens a white jar. She doesn't rush. She takes just a little on her fingertips. Cold cream. That particular smell. Clean, but almost waxy. Sweet without being sweet. And she works it in slow circles around her eyes, like she's doing something important. She is doing something important. She just doesn't have a name for it yet. She doesn't need one. She's been watching her mother do this since she was 6 years old, sitting on the edge of a dusty rose chenille bedspread, feeling the little nubs of it under her fingers, learning, without a single word being said, what it meant to take care of yourself. Most people today have never heard of half the things that happened at that vanity table every single night. Pin curls, cold cream, 100 brush strokes, foam rollers the color of pink bubblegum, a small blue bottle of perfume that cost less than a movie ticket. These weren't special occasion rituals. They were Tuesday night rituals. Wednesday. Every night, without fail, in houses all across this country. Working class houses, farmhouses, small apartments. Women sat down at their mirrors and performed these small, quiet ceremonies before bed. And then, somewhere along the way, we forgot them. This is what they were. Before there was micellar water, before there were oil cleansers and double cleansing and 14-step Korean skincare routines, there was cold cream. Pond's, most likely. The white jar with the pale blue lid. You'd find it on nearly every woman's dresser in America from the 1940s through the 1970s. The ritual was simple. A small amount on the fingertips, worked across the face in gentle upward circles, then wiped away with a soft cloth. It dissolved makeup, cleaned the skin, and left a faint moisture behind. The whole process took maybe 90 seconds. A jar cost under $1. My mother had the most beautiful skin until the day she died. She never spent more than 69 cents on anything that touched her face. I think about that every time I walk past a department store counter. After the cold cream came the toner. Not from a sleek glass bottle with a French name, from a brown pharmacy bottle of witch hazel that cost 40 cents and lasted 3 months. A cotton ball, a gentle swipe across the forehead, the nose, the chin, that sharp, clean smell. Medicinal, but not unpleasant, like the inside of a very honest medicine cabinet. Witch hazel is an astringent. It tightens pores, calms redness, balances the skin after cleansing. Dermatologists today will tell you it genuinely works. Women in 1955 didn't need a dermatologist to tell them. They knew because their mothers knew. That's how most things got learned back then. Not from a label, but from a woman sitting beside you and saying, "Here, like this." This one is small, but don't underestimate it. Every night, before the lights went out, a fingertip of Vaseline, plain petroleum jelly, the kind in the squat blue and white tin, went on the lips to keep them from drying overnight. Some women dotted a tiny amount on their lashes too, believing it encouraged growth. Whether the lash part was science or faith is almost beside the point. The ritual was the point. The small, deliberate act of tending, of saying to yourself, "I'm worth this 2 minutes, this one small thing." Today, there are Vaseline-based lip treatments sold in elegant tubes for $18. The original tin cost a quarter. Some things don't need improving. Long before facial mists came in frosted glass bottles with minimalist labels, women kept a small bottle of rose water on the vanity. It was usually homemade. Rose petals steeped in distilled water, then strained and kept in a cool place, or bought from a pharmacy for very little. A few spritzes on the face after cleansing or in the morning before powder to freshen and hydrate. The smell is impossible to describe if you haven't encountered it. Floral, but not heavy. Green and clean underneath, like a garden after light rain. Rose water has been used in skincare for centuries. Genuinely centuries. Egyptian women used it. Persian women used it. Your grandmother used it. It is now sold in high-end shops for $30 a bottle and called a botanical essence. It's rose water. It has always been rose water. And this next one? This one surprised me the most when I really thought about it. Once a week, not every night, a woman might bring a small handful of plain oats into the bathroom, cook them soft, let them cool, spread them across the face, wait 10 minutes, rinse. That's it. Oatmeal contains compounds called avenanthramides. Nobody called them that in 1958. But they're anti-inflammatory, soothing, and help maintain the skin's moisture barrier. Colloidal oatmeal is now a key ingredient in high-end eczema creams and sensitive skin moisturizers. Women figured this out by watching and sharing and trusting what worked. There is something quietly wonderful about that. A generation of women doing pharmaceutical-grade skincare with what was already in the pantry. Not because they were clever, but because they were paying attention. Before hairspray came in aerosol cans, before the clouds of Aquanet that could hold a hairdo through a hurricane, some women used sugar water. A small amount of sugar, dissolved in warm water, combed through the hair before setting. It dried stiff enough to hold a wave, flexible enough not to crack. Smelled faintly sweet if you leaned close. It washed out with the first rinse. No buildup, no residue, completely harmless. There's something almost poetic about it. Holding a hairstyle together with something as simple and honest as sugar. The kind of solution that arrives when you have to be resourceful, when you can't afford waste, when you have to think. If you've never seen pin curls done, imagine this. A woman sits at her mirror, her hair slightly damp. She takes a small section, an inch wide, maybe less, winds it flat against her scalp in a tight circle, and pins it there with a single bobby pin. Then another section, then another, until her entire head is covered in small, flat spirals, like a map of a very orderly ocean. She sleeps on it, sometimes on a satin pillowcase to reduce frizz. In the morning, she unpins each curl, and the hair falls in soft, controlled waves that last all day, without heat, without electricity, without a single appliance. Pin curls produce the sets you see on women in photographs from the 1940s and 50s. That smooth, sculpted look. Done with fingers, water, bobby pins, and patience. The whole thing cost nothing. Modern curling wands start at $40. Some reach $200. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying the women who came before us were not lacking. The foam roller era has a very specific visual. Pink. Always pink, it seems, or sometimes yellow. Spongy cylinders the length of a finger, with a plastic pick through the center to hold them closed. You'd see them in the hair of women doing dishes, watching television, walking to the mailbox in a housecoat on a Saturday morning. They were worn overnight, sometimes with a net over the top, to set the hair in large, loose curls or waves. The sponge was gentle enough to sleep on without much discomfort, though everyone had their own system for the pillow angle. The result was volume. Soft, lived-in waves without a single degree of heat. They cost almost nothing, a pack of 12 for pocket change, and a whole generation of women had the kind of hair that modern blowout bars charge $80 to reproduce. But what comes next changed how I think about all of this. I want to tell you about this one properly. Every night, and I mean every night, not on the nights I felt like it, I'd sit at my vanity, the one Harold bought me secondhand from an estate sale, walnut veneer, with a mirror that tilted just slightly to the left, so I always saw myself at a gentle angle. I'd pick up the brush, silver-backed, boar bristle, heavy in the hand, and I'd begin. 1, 2, 3. Sometimes I counted out loud, softly. Sometimes just in my head. The rhythm of it was everything. Long strokes from the scalp to the ends, slow and deliberate, the bristles pulling gently through the length of the hair. By 30 strokes, my shoulders had dropped. By 50, my whole scalp felt warm and alive, the bristles distributing the natural oils down the shaft, which is a real thing, which actually works. The hair would get glossy, not product glossy, actually glossy from the inside out. By 100, I was a different person than I was at stroke 1. Slower, softer. The knots of the day had worked themselves loose somehow, transferred from somewhere inside my chest into that simple, repeated motion. It wasn't about the hair. Not really. It was about giving yourself a reason to sit still for 5 minutes in a house full of noise and need and everyone else's hunger. 5 minutes where the only thing you had to do was count to 100. I miss it most of all. Not the ritual exactly. I could pick up a brush tonight. I miss what it required of me. The willingness to stop. To believe that stopping was not wasting time. We've lost that somewhere. The belief that stillness is productive. That quiet is not emptiness.
Not a ritual, exactly. More of a philosophy made fabric. Satin pillowcases were common in households that couldn't afford much else. They were often homemade. A yard of fabric, a few stitches. The reasoning was simple and correct. Cotton grips the hair and skin as you sleep, causing friction. Satin does not. Women woke with fewer sleep creases on their faces. Their pin curls and foam roller sets survived the night better. Their hair retained moisture instead of losing it to the pillowcase. Satin pillowcases are now sold as a luxury item. Influencers recommend them for skin and hair health. Dermatologists confirm the benefit is real. Women in 1953 already knew. They'd figured it out not through research, but through observation, through sleeping on something and noticing how they looked in the morning, through paying quiet, consistent attention to cause and effect. There was a bottle on almost every vanity. Small, cobalt blue, a deep, particular blue, almost like a winter sky right before dark. The cap was silver. The perfume inside was floral and powdery and slightly old world, the kind of scent that announces a woman has gotten ready for something. Evening in Paris was sold at Woolworth's, at the 5 and dime, for less than $1. It was not expensive perfume, but the bottle looked expensive. That blue was unmistakable, intentional, beautiful. And so women kept it on the vanity, alongside the cold cream and the witch hazel, and they used it sparingly. Because sparingly was how you made things last. There was a ritual in the application too. The wrists, the inside of the elbows, behind the ears. Each spot deliberate. Each dab a small act of intention. Of deciding that you were worth smelling beautiful. Even if nobody was going to notice but yourself. People think we spent less time on ourselves back then. We spent more. We just didn't post it anywhere.
Lemons were not exotic. Lemons were in the kitchen. And if you read enough women's magazines from the 1940s and 50s, and women read them carefully, passed them around, clipped things out, you would have learned that dabbing a little fresh lemon juice on dark spots and leaving it to dry before bed could gradually lighten uneven pigment. The active ingredient is citric acid. It genuinely does affect melanin production with repeated use. Modern brightening serums use vitamin C, which is essentially the same mechanism in a more stable form. The difference is that a lemon costs 30 cents. The serum costs $65. Women in 1948 didn't have the serum. They had the lemon. And they had time and patience and faith in small, consistent efforts, which, it turns out, is most of what skincare actually requires. The dentist was not cheap. For many families, the dentist was an emergency, not a routine. So teeth got taken care of at home. A finger dipped in baking soda, rubbed across the teeth before the regular brushing, or mixed to a thin paste with a little water. The taste is sharp and clean. The result, over time, is genuinely brighter enamel. Baking soda is a mild abrasive that removes surface stains without damaging the tooth structure. It is now the active ingredient in dozens of whitening toothpastes, sold for $7 to $15 a tube. The box of baking soda in 1950 cost 9 cents, and also made your biscuits rise and kept the refrigerator from smelling. A single purchase that did 6 different things. Efficiency born not from innovation, but from necessity. The kind of thinking that happens when you can't afford waste, and so you learn to see everything for what else it might be. Working hands. That's what they were called. Women who cooked and cleaned and gardened and laundered. Their hands showed it. The solution was glycerin. Pure vegetable glycerin from the pharmacy, poured into a small bottle and kept by the kitchen sink and by the bed. A few drops rubbed in after washing up or before sleep worked into the knuckles and the cuticles. Glycerin is a humectant. It draws moisture from the air into the skin. It is extraordinarily effective. It is also extraordinarily cheap. A small bottle lasted months. Today, it is listed as a key ingredient in hand creams that cost $25 for a small tube. The glycerin is often somewhere in the middle of the ingredient list. The packaging is beautiful. The marketing is sophisticated. But women in 1957 just had the glycerin. Just the thing itself, without the story around it. And their hands? Working hands. Honest hands. Were soft. And here is the thing that ties all of it together. The most important beauty ritual of that era wasn't any single product. It was the act of doing it every night. Without fail. Without negotiation. Without waiting to feel like it. The routine said, "This time is mine." Even in a house full of other people's needs. Even when tired. Even when there was nothing special happening tomorrow.
even on the ordinary Tuesday nights that make up most of a life. The routine was a container for stillness, a structure that gave a woman permission to sit down, to be quiet, to tend to herself the way she tended to everyone else, and to do it not as a reward for productivity, but simply because she existed. And existing was enough reason. That is what we lost. Not the cold cream, not the pin curls. The unquestioned belief that the small, daily act of caring for yourself was not indulgent, was not extra, was simply part of being a person. Ruthie Beaumont, who lived 2 streets over from where I grew up, did her full routine every single night, even when she had a newborn. Her husband thought she was vain. She thought she was sane. She was right.
My mother sat at her vanity every night until she couldn't anymore. The jar of Pond's, the small brown bottle of witch hazel, the silver brush, heavy in her hand. She didn't think of it as self-care. She didn't think of it as a routine. She thought of it as just what you do. The way you close up the house at night. The way you lock the door. The way you say your prayers, if that's what you do. Small and necessary and quiet. I think what I hope, more than anything, is that someone watching this will think of a woman they love. A mother. A grandmother. Maybe someone who is still here. Still someone you can ask. Did you do this? Was there a jar on your dresser? Did you brush your hair before bed? Ask them. Ask them soon. Because those stories live in people, not in books. And people don't stay forever. And if you find yourself thinking that taking 10 minutes tonight to sit still and tend to yourself is indulgent, too slow, too old-fashioned, too much time for not enough output, I want you to hear this. There were women who worked harder than most of us will ever work, who had less than most of us will ever have, who made those 10 minutes happen anyway, every night, without apology. They knew something. We're just now starting to remember what it was.
If something in this video reminded you of someone, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. A specific product, a smell, a ritual you watched someone do when you were small. We have a video coming up on the everyday household routines of the 1950s and 60s that I think you'll feel right at home in. It's waiting for you whenever you're ready. Until then, take care of yourself. Quietly and without an audience.